My family had my name removed from family photos and replaced with the mistake. So I became the celebrity their grandkids begged to meet. Please take a second to support our channel, hit subscribe and drop a comment saying where you're watching from. You're part of this story too. I found out I'd been erased on a Tuesday. Not just forgotten, actively erased. My cousin Jasmine called me crying, her voice cracking through the phone. Brielle, you need to see this. I'm sending pictures now. When those images loaded, my stomach dropped 6 floors. There was the family reunion photo from last summer, professionally printed and framed in my mother's living room. Except where my face should have been, there was a blur. And beneath it, in elegant gold lettering, the mistake. I stared at my phone for 20 minutes straight, trying to make it make sense. My younger brother Marcus stood there grinning. My older sister Shanice, perfect as always. My parents, Diane and Robert Mitchell, center frame looking proud. And then me, pixelated into nothing, labeled like a typo someone forgot to correct. I'd missed that reunion because I was working a double shift at the hospital. I'm a pediatric nurse and we'd had an emergency that weekend. I'd called, apologized, sent a gift basket. This was my reward. My hands shook as I scrolled through more photos Jasmine sent. Christmas 2023, same treatment. Thanksgiving 2022, worse. They'd actually cut me out with scissors, leaving a person-shaped hole. I called my mother 13 times. She let every single one go to voicemail. Finally, I texted, I saw the photos. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, you made your choices, Brielle. We made ours. Started when I was 17. That's when everything changed, though I didn't understand it then. My parents had always been what you'd call respectable. My father a deacon at New Hope Baptist, my mother president of the Ladies' Auxiliary. Shanice was their golden child, engaged at 22 to David, a corporate lawyer whose family had money older than dirt. Marcus was the baby, the son who'd carry on the Mitchell name. Me. I was supposed to be the middle child who made no waves. But I made waves. Big ones. I got pregnant senior year by Damon Harris, a boy from the East Side who worked at his uncle's auto shop. My parents didn't speak to me for 2 months. You've ruined this family's reputation, my mother said, her voice cold as January. Shanice's engagement party is in 6 weeks. How do you think this looks? I remember standing in our living room, 17 and terrified, while my father paced and my mother cried angry tears. You'll give it up for adoption, Daddy said. Not asked, stated. We've already made calls. But I didn't. Kept my baby, my beautiful Maya. Damon stepped up, worked 3 jobs, and we got married at the courthouse the day after graduation. No white dress. No family present. Just us and 2 witnesses we pulled off the street for $20 each. For 10 years I lived in a gray area of my family's life. Not quite disowned but never quite included. They'd show up to Maya's birthday parties, late, staying briefly, never in photos. Christmas gifts came addressed to Maya Mitchell Harris, but nothing for me or Damon. My mother's Christmas cards featured professional photos of the family. I wasn't in them. It's better this way, Shanice told me once, her voice syrupy with false concern. You understand, right? David's partners. They ask questions. It's complicated. What was complicated was watching my daughter ask why Grandma Diane hugged her cousins but barely touched her. Why Uncle Marcus took Shanice's kids to baseball games but never called Maya. I built a life anyway. Damon and I struggled, but we made it work. I went to nursing school at night, studying while Maya slept. Damon built his way from mechanic to shop manager. We bought a small house in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy but ours. Every achievement felt hollow because the people who were supposed to celebrate with me acted like I didn't exist. Then last year, everything exploded. Damon's shop got a contract with the city. A huge deal, 6 figures annually. Suddenly, my East Side husband was a business owner with political connections. My mother called for the first time in months. "We should all have dinner," she said. "It's been too long." I should have known something was wrong when my mother insisted on Carmichael's, a restaurant so expensive they don't print prices on the ladies' menus. Damon wore his best suit. Maya, now 15, wore the dress Grandma Diane had sent for her birthday. First red flag I ignored. We arrived at 7 sharp. My family was already seated. Parents, Shanice and David, Marcus and his fiancée Brittany. Everyone dressed like they were attending a Fortune 500 board meeting. "Brielle. So glad you could make it." Shanice air kissed both my cheeks, her perfume choking. Throughout dinner something felt off. The conversation kept steering toward Damon's business. How much was the city contract worth? Did he have investors? What were his expansion plans? My father, who'd barely spoken to my husband in 10 years, was suddenly his best friend. "You know, Damon, I have some connections at the mayor's office," Daddy said, cutting his steak with surgical precision. "Could be beneficial for you." Then Marcus leaned forward. "Actually, we wanted to discuss a family investment opportunity." I watched my husband's face light up. He'd always wanted my family's approval. This was it finally. They laid out their pitch. The Mitchell family would invest in Damon's business, $200,000 for a 40% stake. 40%? I set down my fork, the clatter sharp in the restaurant's hushed atmosphere. "That's not an investment, that's a takeover." My mother's smile never wavered. "It's called leverage, sweetheart. Something you'd understand if you'd gone to business school instead of nursing." The way she said nursing made it sound like I cleaned toilets for a living. Damon squeezed my hand under the table. "Let's just hear them out, babe." They had contracts printed. Actual legal documents, prepared in advance. David, the lawyer, slid them across the table with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I've reviewed everything. It's very standard." I grabbed the papers, scanning clauses my nursing degree couldn't decipher but my gut understood were wrong. "There's a clause here about family employment," I said. "Marcus gets to be CFO? Shanice's husband becomes legal counsel? My husband owns the company but your family runs it. Think of it as mentorship," Shanice cooed. "Damon's talented but inexperienced with this level of business. We're helping." Maya sat silent beside me, watching her family with wide eyes. Seeing what I'd protected her from for 15 years. The condescension, the manipulation wrapped in expensive clothes and fake smiles. "No," I said. Everyone froze. "Excuse me." My father's voice dropped to that dangerous quiet I remembered from childhood. "No," I repeated louder now. "This isn't an investment. This is you trying to steal my husband's business because suddenly he's successful enough to matter to you." The restaurant's ambient noise seemed to disappear. Nearby tables went quiet, sensing drama. Shanice laughed, sharp and brittle. "Steal? Don't be dramatic, Brielle. We're offering help. God knows you've needed it your entire life." "Help?" I stood up, chair scraping. Where was this help when I was working 3 jobs to pay for nursing school? When Maya needed braces and we were eating ramen 4 nights a week? Where was the Mitchell family investment then? My mother dabbed her lips with her napkin, a gesture so controlled it screamed fury. "If we'd helped then we'd have been enabling your mistake. You made your bed, don't." My voice cut like glass. "Don't you dare call my marriage a mistake at this table in front of my daughter." "Well," my father said, standing to match my posture, "if the investment doesn't interest you, perhaps we should discuss the other matter." He nodded at David, who pulled out his phone and turned it toward me. "Photos. Dozens of them. The family reunion. Christmas. Easter. Thanksgiving. Every single one edited, my face removed or blurred, replaced with variations of the same label. The mistake. Some said, the disappointment. Others, the failure. What the hell is this? Damon grabbed the phone. This is what happens, my mother said, her voice ice cold now. Mask finally dropped. When you don't fall in line. You think you're part of this family? You stopped being a Mitchell the day you chose that garage boy over your family's legacy. Maya's chair scraped back. Garage boy? My father owns that garage. He employs 12 people. What do you do besides judge everyone? Maya, Shanice started. No. My daughter's voice shook but held firm. You send me birthday presents like you care, but you treat my mom like garbage. You crop her out of pictures. You call her a mistake. You're horrible people. Marcus, who'd been silent, finally spoke. Look, it doesn't have to be like this. Dad, Mom, maybe we went too far. We went too far. My mother turned on him. We've been cleaning up her messes for 16 years. Every Christmas, explaining to our friends why Brielle isn't in the photos. Every church function making excuses. I'm tired of being embarrassed. Then stop, I said quietly. Something in my voice made everyone look at me. Stop being embarrassed. Stop making excuses. Just stop pretending I'm your daughter. Fine, my father said. You want to be cut off? You're cut off. But understand this. You reject our offer tonight, you reject this family. Permanently. No graduations, no weddings, no funerals. You're done. The waiter approached nervously. Is everything all right here? Perfect, I said, grabbing my purse. We left Carmichael's without touching our $100 steaks. Damon was silent on the drive home, jaw clenched. Maya cried quietly in the back seat. I felt nothing. Just cold, clear purpose. At home, I did something I should have done years ago. I went to my closet and pulled out a box I'd kept hidden. Evidence. Photos, texts, voicemails. Documentation of every cruel moment, every exclusion, every deliberate hurt. 16 years of receipts. Babe, what are you doing? Damon found me at the kitchen table, laptop open, files spread everywhere. I'm done protecting them, I said. They want me gone. Fine. But they're going to regret it. See, here's what the Mitchell family didn't know about their disappointing daughter. I wasn't just any nurse. I was a pediatric surgical nurse at Children's Memorial, one of the best children's hospitals in the state. I worked with kids from all over the country, including several from families with serious money and influence, including Senator Patricia Dorsey's grandson, including the daughter of Marcus Thompson, who owned Thompson Media Group, the largest African-American-owned media conglomerate in the South. I'd saved lives, made connections, built a reputation as someone who genuinely cared. And I'd done it all while my family pretended I didn't exist. I made a list. 11 names. People whose children I'd helped, who'd told me, anything you need ever, you call me. 3 days after the dinner, I called in every favor I'd accumulated over 10 years. First call, Patricia Dorsey. Senator, I need advice about starting a nonprofit for families with children in long-term hospital care. She invited me to lunch. Over Caesar salads, I explained my vision. A foundation providing housing, meals, and emotional support for families dealing with pediatric illness. I didn't mention my own family. I didn't need to. Brielle, this is brilliant, Patricia said. I'll introduce you to the foundation director at Georgetown. And you should meet my friend at CNN. They're doing a series on healthcare heroes. Second call, Marcus Thompson. Mr. Thompson, I'd love to discuss that interview you mentioned about pediatric nursing advocacy. His assistant scheduled me for the following week. Third call, Dr. Rebecca Rivera, chief of surgery, whose twin daughters I'd helped through a terrifying NICU stay. I want to write about healthcare disparities in pediatric care, I told her. Would you co-author with me? Absolutely, she said immediately. Within 2 weeks, things started moving. The CNN interview aired. 8 minutes of me discussing the emotional toll on families, the need for better support systems, the children I'd fought to save. They used my full name, Brielle Mitchell Harris, RN BSN. My phone exploded. Friend requests. Interview requests. The local paper wanted a feature story. The article in the Tribune was supposed to be small. Page 6, local interest. But the reporter, a woman named Alicia Freeman, dug deeper. She interviewed families I'd helped. Parents who sobbed on camera about how I'd held their hands during their darkest moments. How I'd stayed late, come in early, fought with insurance companies on their behalf. The article went viral. Not just locally, nationally. Someone shared it on Twitter. Then Reddit. Then it hit Black Twitter, and suddenly everyone was talking about that nurse in Memphis who's changing pediatric care. The headline, from the hospital floor to the national stage, Nurse Brielle Mitchell Harris champions pediatric healthcare reform. My phone rang constantly. Good Morning America wanted me for a segment. Essence wanted a profile. A publisher reached out about a book deal. Through it all, my family stayed silent. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. Until the foundation launch. We'd raised $300,000 in donations for Maya's Place, named after my daughter, a support home for families with children in long-term hospital care. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was covered by every local news station. Senator Dorsey spoke. Dr. Rivera spoke. Marcus Thompson gave a speech about community advocacy. And then I spoke, holding my daughter's hand, my husband beside me. Maya's Place exists because I know what it's like to feel unsupported. I told the cameras, the crowd, the world. I know what it's like to be erased from your own family's story. To be called a mistake. To have your name literally removed from family photos and replaced with labels meant to shame you. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. The audience gasped. Social media exploded again. People started digging. Someone found the photos. My cousin Jasmine, bless her, had quietly leaked them to a blogger. The images of family portraits with my face blurred, replaced with the mistake, spread across the internet like wildfire. The backlash against my family was swift and brutal. My father's church removed him as deacon after a petition from congregants. My mother resigned from the ladies' auxiliary before they could vote her out. Shanice's husband's law firm issued a statement distancing themselves from the personal matters of associate family members. Marcus lost his position on the Chamber of Commerce board. But the real consequence came from an unexpected place. Shanice's children. My niece Riley was 13. My nephew Jordan was 11. They found the photos online. They read the articles. They understood finally why they barely knew their Aunt Brielle. Riley called me crying. I didn't know, she sobbed. Mom always said you were too busy to visit. That you chose work over family. It's not your fault, sweetie, I told Riley, my heart breaking for her. She and Jordan started asking questions their parents couldn't answer. Why did Aunt Brielle get erased? Why did Grandma do that? If they could do that to their own daughter, what does that mean for us? The questions cracked something open in my sister's perfect life. Shanice showed up at my house 3 weeks after the foundation launch. She looked terrible, hair undone, no makeup, clothes wrinkled. They won't stop asking, she said without preamble. Riley found all the articles. Jordan printed out the photos to ask why we hurt you. And what did you tell them? I didn't invite her inside. I told them. She faltered. I told them I didn't know. That I was wrong. That we were all wrong. That's not an apology, Shanice. I know. She looked at her hands. I don't think there's an apology big enough. But Riley begged me to bring her to meet you. She wants to know her aunt. Her real aunt, not the version Mom created. I thought about saying no. About protecting myself the way I should have done years ago. But I thought about that 15-year-old girl watching her family tear me apart over dinner. I thought about the little girl asking why Grandma didn't love her mama. One visit, I said. Here. With Damon and Maya present. And Shanice? If anyone so much as. Riley and Jordan came the next Saturday. Maya answered the door, awkward and guarded around cousins she barely knew. But kids are resilient and wounds between them heal faster than adult ones. Within an hour they were in the backyard laughing. Shanice and I sat on the porch watching them. Mom and Dad won't speak to me, she said quietly. As I brought the kids here. Marcus is the only one still in their good graces and he's barely hanging on. That's not my problem anymore. I know. She was quiet for a long moment. I saw you on Good Morning America. You were incredible. And I realized I don't know you at all. I know the version of you Mom and Dad created, but not you. The foundation exploded beyond anything I'd imagined. 6 months after launch, we'd opened 3 locations across Tennessee. I'd written a book, From Mistake to Mission, that hit the New York Times bestseller list. I'd spoken at conferences, been interviewed on national television, met with legislators about healthcare reform. My daughter got accepted to Northwestern with a full scholarship. Damon's business expanded to 3 locations. We bought a bigger house, not mansion big but big enough. 1 year after that dinner at Carmichael's, my phone rang. Brielle? It's Dad. I almost hung up. The church asked me to reach out. They want to do a reconciliation ceremony. No. Brielle, please. You labeled me the mistake and erased me from family history. You tried to steal my husband's business. You're only calling because I became successful enough to embarrass you. So no, Daddy. We're done. I hung up. Maya hugged me. I'm proud of you, Mom. Yeah. You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. Through the window I watched Riley and Jordan play with Maya. The next generation writing a different story. And somewhere in a house I'd never visit again, my parents sat with their carefully curated family photos. -1. The mistake who became the miracle they'll never know. Their grandkids beg to visit me now. And I let them. Because I'm not my parents. I don't erase people for being imperfect. I celebrate them for being real. That's the difference between being a family and being famous. I chose both. They chose neither. And that's a choice they'll live with forever.